Lex, we're live. Woo! Welcome everyone. Let's give us a couple of minutes, Marshall, because I think it's still very early, right?
Welcome everyone. Exactly. That's good.
I mean, the people are going to see the video at some point, right? So it's, I guess I should, when there's 1 billion people, they know that they could have been the first one in the chat, like Marshall was.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and then gotta keep the optics.
Yep.
Exactly. Where are you calling in from?
I'm from Texas. I'm here in North Texas.
Oh, nice. North Texas. Where? I used to live in North Texas.
I'm south of Dallas in Waxahachie.
Ah, I went to school in Denton for a little bit.
Oh, really? I'm from that area. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Nice, nice. Hey, Henry.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Excellent. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thanks. Very good.
So we have Texas. Oh, yeah. Texas.
I can handle the admittance if you want, Julian.
Cool.
You can.
And Henry, you're in California, right? No, Henry is in UK.
Yeah, I'm UK.
Yeah, of course. Foreign tutor is California. Sorry. Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, good
there.
to see you.
Super
Hey.
excited to meet all of you.
I mean, it's obviously the first one, so it's going to take a little while. We're going to get used to that at some point. Things might be a bit awkward right now, but we're learning as we go, right? So any feedback that you might have around the format, I think would be helpful no matter what. But yeah, let's give it a couple more minutes for people to show up.
For sure.
For sure.
Cool.
There's also this Discord that we're setting up. If you're not on there yet, feel free to join. And you can, if you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat on the Discord. That way we'll have like a persistent log of questions and things. I'll have to repeat that a couple of times, I think, until when everyone's here. Maybe we'll do it before we dive in. Okay.
Nice to meet you, Hazio. And Kelly, I didn't say hello, but hello. Or should I say buongiorno?
Hello.
Hey, Kate.
Hey.
Hello, hello.
So is this Discord the new official Discord?
It will eventually be. We're finishing the setup right now, but yes, the goal is to eventually move everyone to the Discord, have multiple channels. Cool. One of the reasons why we want to do this is because that allows us to kind of dog food. We put the bot, the SwordyBot thing in there, so only the members. I mean, it's a free membership, but the goal is to show people like, hey, you can actually easily join a permissioned Discord with Unlock. We'll have, I think, 4 main channels there, general discussion, one for devs, one for creators, and then one for hodlers that we call governance. So anyone who's interested in participating in the governance. So yeah, I know there's been discussion around like we can't discuss token things on the Telegram group. I think we'll be fine if that's happening inside of a specific channel inside of on Discord.
Cool, makes sense.
Hey, Melissa.
Hey. Quick question. Can Melissa, can you see the history on the chat? Do you see what was written previously?
I'm sorry?
Can you see the chat history? Do you see anything in the chat window?
Oh, I don't even see a chat.
Oh, top right.
Oh, I see it. I see it. No, I do not see a chat history.
Cool, perfect. I'll wait one more. Before we start, I'll give the Discord announcement.
So we have Europe, we have Texas. Hazio, you didn't. I mean, and you can post if you don't have to. But where are you based?
I'm based from United Kingdom.
Oh, nice. So 2 UKs. Nice. Melissa, you're in California, right?
Yeah, California.
Nice. And Kate?
Cool.
UK as well, I'm afraid.
Oh my God, Sony. Oh.
Wow. Are these, Henry, are these all your, did you bring all these UK people
Yeah, I just
here?
brought, these are all my friends. They're actually in the room over there.
Nice.
Cool. And it looks like now we're too many people to show on the same screen, if I'm correct, because I see 9 people and, all right. That's a win. We can't fit on the screen anymore, I guess.
Yeah. Khalidu, where are you calling in from? I hope I pronounced your name correct.
Yeah, it's correct. I'm from Italy.
Oh, Italy. Nice. Okay. Very cool. It's a very strong European presence here.
I mean, the funny thing is, like, Sasha, I mean, maybe it's a secret. You will tell where you're from. I'm French. I'm in the US, but I'm French. So yeah, definitely feeling the Euro vibe. And then,
I'm European too, I guess. I'm German, mostly.
hey, I think this is Pat, right? The Gallagher engineer. Yeah. Oh,
hello. Cool.
Cool. Maybe one more minute, and then maybe you should get started. And I think we're small enough that we can do a quick round of intro, optional, obviously, for everyone. But I think that may be a good way to get started.
I'll give the Discord announcement. So I'll just post in the chat is a link to our soon-to-be officially released Discord. So if you want, feel free to join. And then if you have questions, feel free to post them in the developers channel. So we'll have a persistent place. So if we don't get to any questions, we can still answer them later.
And again, this is the first one, so definitely any feedback that you'll have in terms of what we should do better for the next one. I think we're going to do another one in 2 weeks. I'm already, I have asked a few people to join already, so we have at least 2 projects coming to present, which is going to be good. And then ideally, we do them kind of a bi-weekly basis, kind of open mic until we're billions, and then we'll try to find better roles. All right. I'm hesitant to post it on Twitter just in case, but you know what? Maybe I'll live dangerously and do it. Maybe that's one of the lessons. We should do it next time. I don't know. We'll see.
So it says the Discord invite is invalid now. So I think someone else must have used it. I guess only one person can use it.
Oh damn! Was it? Was it a one-time use or something? Let me see. What did
Maybe
I do?
it's not letting me in
No,
now.
it should be. It should be edit link invite. No limit. I'll make it valid. Whatever. An hour. Huh. Okay. Here's a new link. In case, sorry about that. Let's try that again.
Is there a way to make a kind of a persistent link, something that would work?
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. You can choose how many people can use it, or how long the link is valid, and it could be unlimited on both.
Nice, cool.
Discord is pretty cool. Hey, Austin.
Hey, just a quick FYI. This is recorded. I mean, if you guys or if you all feel not great about this, feel free to hide your cameras. I think that's yeah. And the goal of recording it is
a notification. Sorry.
Oh, when people join, perfect.
Yeah. So we know.
Amazing. Good. Okay. I just want to make sure people know because but it's if Google tells.
Definitely.
Perfect. Cool. Maybe we'll get started. Quick round of intro. So welcome first. I think that's the first thing to say. Thanks for coming. It's the very first of many contributor meetups. And we're doing this obviously online because there's people all around the world. So thank you for everyone joining at strange hours. I think we have somebody from China. Was pretty very late there. So, but anyway, my name is Julian. I'm the founder, technically CEO at Unlock Inc., which is the company that builds the protocol. And I'm glad to see everyone here. Do you want to go ahead, Sasha?
Hey, I'm Sasha. I'm based in New York with Julian, I guess. We're both in New York. And I do everything design and community related at Unlock.
Cool. And maybe we had 2 kind of guests today, Henry and Pat. We've already built some cool things with Unlock. So we're thinking that we could kind of showcase their work specifically today. Obviously, this is going to be open for everyone to ask questions but maybe they can introduce themselves, and then if anyone else wants to jump in, yeah, we can do that afterwards. Henry, if you want to get started.
Sure. So my name's Henry Hoffman. I'm a video game developer based in the UK, just about 2 hours outside of London. And I've been working in video games for about sort of 10, 15 years or so. And I'm working on I've been doing sort of web games and stuff for about 10 years. And I always thought there was a real opportunity to better monetize sort of web game content. And I was interested in Unlock, not necessarily as with the crossover of video games, but the more I explored it, the more I realized there's some really interesting use cases for Unlock Protocol and sort of web-based video games. So I'm building some Unity sort of integration stuff at the moment, which has been really exciting.
Cool. Thank you very much. Pat? Oh, that's not cool. Like, I think we should... All right. I think we'll remove anyone who does this. Sorry. Yep. I think that's the thing. If you try to hijack the thing, you're going to be kicked out. I guess that's lesson number one. How can we prevent this from happening later? We'll learn.
Oh, no.
Go ahead, Pat.
We're about to get bombed.
We'll have to give everyone NFTs and then.
I mean, that'd be cool. Right? All right. I'm gonna mute people also as we go. Maybe not ban them, but just mute until. All right. That's a lesson. All right. Salve, Miguel. Go ahead, Pat.
All right. Well, hey guys. I'm Patrick. I've been. There we go.
All right. Well, I guess it's gonna be a big lesson. I'm gonna just ban people. Hopefully, we don't have to do too many of these. All right. Go ahead, Pat. Sorry.
Yeah. So I've been building in Ethereum for about 4 years now, and yeah, I just love experimenting and making cool stuff. And I built a couple bots and started working with the Discord developer stuff, and got built an ID bot, identification for the ceramic network. And then I saw that Unlock was looking to build a bot as well, and so I jumped on the opportunity and built SwordyBot. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
And we use SwordyBot on the Discord. So when you all join Discord, you'll be prompted by SwordyBot to unlock things. And we're pretty excited about this. Like, honestly, any integration that anyone builds will definitely be the first advocates and the first users as we go. Cool. Is there anybody else who wants to introduce themselves, tell us what they're working on, who they are?
Yeah, I'm Marshall. Oh, go ahead, Russell.
Go ahead, Marshall.
Okay, yeah. So I'm working on the Streamlabs integration to do the allow streamers to get donations and do super chats using Unlock.
Very excited about that one as well. And I mean, hopefully at some point we can use that even for these goals.
Maybe.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. All right, Austin, your turn.
My name's Austin. I'm based in Brooklyn. I'm a co-founder of a platform called Ampled, which is kind of like a Patreon-like platform for musicians, but it's a co-op collectively owned by artists and workers. I've been around for like a year and have a bunch of artists joining and thinking about a protocol like Unlock to use creatively to recognize membership in a co-op and access to things like financials or whatever. I feel like it could unlock a lot of possibilities. So I'm not a developer, but I'm here just to chime in and learn and see what we can maybe add to the ecosystem.
Definitely. There's a lot of people that are excited about, and we're excited as well about building use cases in the music space. And so I think, yeah, that's definitely one of the things that we hope people build on, and then we'll definitely embrace. Anybody else? And I think you can raise hands. I don't know if this thing works with Hangout.
I just tried it.
Oh, you tried it. Okay, go ahead, Foreign Shooter.
How's it going, guys? Foreign Shooter here. I'm super excited to be a part of this team and help it, reach new levels. I got a new project that I'm working on. It's called Tyler's World. It's an NFT project that I'm super excited about. I've been drawing this guy since I was 6 years old. You guys can check him out if you guys want to, but I'm hoping to incorporate Unlock for membership to access Tyler basically on my website.
Cool. Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, drawing stories. And I think one of the ideas that you were thinking about is kind of bringing participant inside of the drawing, like finding a way to help, I mean, have people vote on what are the next thing that you should draw and things like that. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually wanted to make a governance token for Tyler and have Unlock verify the people who actually hold the token.
That'd be pretty fun, like kind of write your own story collectively through
Exactly.
DAO. I think it's pretty cool.
Exactly.
Hey, there's a DAO that just started called Hero DAO, which is taking a superhero that has fallen into the public domain and launching a comic book. I think you should get in touch with them and maybe they can help you launch the Tyler comic or
way,
whatever
that's super
format
cool.
that you're planning to launch it. Yeah.
That's the first time I'm hearing about that. That's super cool. I'll look into it for sure.
Oh, yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, Swiss DCL, you raised your hand. Are you still on mute or? You're on mute, just in case.
All right. Well, maybe yeah, somebody else. Otherwise, we should maybe jump into kind of the meat. No, cool. So Henry, Patrick, maybe one of you starts telling us exactly about what you're building. What are the technical challenges that you faced? Thing that Unlock could do better. I mean, lessons learned. I don't know, anything on that front.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start. It's been interesting because I guess video games weren't the sort of the immediate use case for Unlock Protocol. So one of the user experience challenges is that when you've got a video game where you're making sort of multiple unlocks, you're sort of buying multiple pieces of content. An unlock could be sort of like a costume, for example, in Fortnite. It could be a live concert in game, also similar to Fortnite. Or it could simply be a sort of a basic subscription where you can sort of continue accessing the content. But there's varying amounts of sort of interaction that you need to do with the protocol, depending on that. If you're buying a lot of stuff quickly, the user experience changes a lot versus just sort of buying a Forbes subscription or something, for example. So at the moment, what I'm really looking into is Unlock.js and how we can create sort of a clean user experience so players can sort of really easily sort of unlock sort of regular bits of content. But yeah, no, it's really exciting. And one of the things that surprised me is how flexible it is. Because I think one thing that's important to make clear is that I don't come from a blockchain development background. I'm very much a traditional video game developer. And what Unlock Protocol has enabled me to do really is to do sort of quite advanced blockchain functionality, which I wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. So it's been absolutely fantastic for that.
Cool. Yeah, and you mentioned using Unlock.js. So maybe for people who are not familiar with Unlock.js, so I'll explain what that is. But basically, as you know, right, when you're developing on smart contract, there is the Solidity smart contract themselves. And then usually you would interact with them through the use of so-called RPC endpoints, and then call the API on these things. And these are fairly low-level APIs that require a lot of data conversion and kind of some heavy lifting that is not always obvious or not easy to build. And then eventually everybody built the same thing, right? So for example, one of the things that I tell all the time is like, when you think about the price of a membership, it is actually expressed as a big int with 16 digits on the smart contract. And it's not very developer friendly, right? You're generally not charging something that is that long. And so we built, inside of Unlock.js, a layer of things that make it easier for people to say, hey, this is $1, not this is 1,000, or actually 1 times 10 to the power of 16 of some kind of ERC20. So that makes things easier. Another thing that Unlock.js does, and actually maybe the biggest thing, is we have multiple versions of the locks. So the lock is the smart contract that people deploy when they create a membership. And so we have multiple versions of this. Because as we make progress, we add new things, we improve features, and soon actually these versions are going to be voted on by the community, which is going to be pretty exciting through the DAO. But even when that's the case, I think we'll have so many. There's actually currently 8 versions, but the last 4 only are supported. But there's going to be enough version that it would be easier to have just a library that kind of hides the complexity of these different versions, and that's also one of the reasons to be for Unlock.js. So that's kind of at a high level what unlock.js does. Makes sense? And I know, Henry, that one of the questions that you had around unlock.js was like, how can we make this work into other non-JavaScript contexts? So for example, in Unity, I think you mentioned C#. So maybe we'll have to think about ways to convert unlock.js. I don't know what's the right way, but like compile unlock.js into other languages. And I know Kelly actually had suggested that we should rewrite it as TypeScript. And I think that's definitely a big point that would allow for these kind of things. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Pat, what about you? Or I mean, Henry, maybe there's more stuff that you want to tell us, or?
No, I've got some other questions and stuff that I'll probably throw at the end, not necessarily related to this what I'm working on at the moment, but yeah.
Pat, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm JavaScript through and through. Like, as soon as you're like, oh, let's go to some other language, I'm just like, I'm out, whatever.
I mean, I can definitely relate. Like, we're using JavaScript all over the place, but at the same time, I know that there is some environment in which that's not necessarily an option. Like, I do expect that at some point people want to unlock into native apps on iOS, for example. And yes, you can do web views and stuff like this, but I think there's value into also thinking that maybe there's some native Swift integration there, or on Android with Kotlin, for example. I know there's people have asked for this in the past.
You know what would be cool is just an API that wraps the SDK, and then it doesn't even matter what environment you're in, you can fetch a user's lock status.
Yeah, so I mean, the secret about unlock.js is like at some point we want to put it on a server and basically say, hey, you don't have to worry too much about anything else. You can just call it from your endpoint, and then it's actually hiding all of the complexity on a server. And then you're right, you can wrap it into any language. So that would actually be something that we'd love to be able to ship. The challenge with that, though, and blockchain decentralization, we would need to make sure that people know that they can still run their own version of this without requiring us to be around to kind of provide that interface.
Yeah, we did this with RDI because it was kind of hard to calculate interest and use the SDK. And so we're just like, well, I'll just put up a Swagger API endpoint and just let people use it. And people who aren't developers can use it as well, which is kind of nice because you just put in the address you want and hit go, and it tells you what you want to know.
Yeah. Has anybody else used Swagger in the past?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pat.
Does anybody else? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was wondering if anybody, because this is also a question like, should we do something like Swagger to help people kind of, yes, we should, right? But like, I'd love to see people say, yes, I want to do it for me. It's a way to prioritize, right?
I don't know if people know what Swagger is, but they probably used it if I show them it. Let me
Chris raised their hand. You want to share something?
Nothing more than Swagger is great. You asked earlier if anybody's used Swagger, so I raised my hand.
No, you did good. Yeah, that's great. No, I agree. Like, this is good, and this is definitely something that we will support at some point. It's a question of like, we're a small team, and how can we prioritize these things? But yeah, I mean, go ahead, Pat. Show us the demo. I think that's cool.
Yeah, this is just like a basic Swagger. So you get the URL, the top, and then you get this little thing where, like, for instance, you would just put in the address of the person that you want the lock for, and then hit the execute button, and then it would spit out, And so this is a developer tool, but it's so easy that it's pretty easy for anyone to
use.
And like, you could put you could have data. It's almost like before we get to the subgraph state, right? It's like, just give me like one user's details, but you could also add the subgraph stuff as well. And for people who don't know, like, subgraph is an index version of what's on chain, which can give you much richer data. So for instance, like, show me, the history of locks for a specific lock contract, and like, when people were buying and when people were not, and the amount paid and all this, how much tokens were minted and rewards and all that good stuff. I mean, that's what I would recommend because it's like a lot of people want easy introduction to a protocol before they learn how to use the SDK and all that stuff. And so I think it's a good gateway for newcomers, basically.
No, that's definitely a good point. And talking about the graph, I think you were wondering. I'm not sure everyone is familiar with what that is, but querying smart contract is pretty inefficient. Usually, you can only query one piece of data at a time. I mean, it's a bit more complicated than that, but it's really kind of heavy, and also it's really hard to actually query for kind of a historical data. And so we've actually built already what we call a subgraph, which is a GraphQL. And I don't know if you all are familiar with GraphQL, but like an interface that allow you to make pretty rich requests to retrieve some information. So, for example, when you go to the unlock dashboard, we're actually using the graph to retrieve all of your locks at once rather than get them one by one. We actually do get them one by one after this to get the details. But eventually, we would want to put the graph inside. I mean, the graph. Put some data about the graph inside of the unlock.js interface itself. And then maybe even further, as Pat said, like completely package this into its own API server through Swagger that would be easily consumable by everyone. So it's more like we're going from the lowest level thing, unlock.js, the graph, and then hopefully the package server with Swagger feels like would be the mountain that we have to climb, and we're just at the first level right now. But to be clear, I mean, these are syntactic sugar. I mean, in a way that they don't actually bring new. I mean, you can do all of these things already. It's just more work, and we're making it easier and easier. That's the goal.
Yeah, I think we're gonna start seeing a lot of. I mean, there are already a lot of developers, but like these sort of things, because I'm from the developer experience side, so it's like my main gig, and so I'm always thinking about, okay, how easy is it to build with a protocol, or how easy, and the easier and easier it is, the
better.
The better, yeah, and the better responses you have, people can create cool stuff.
Maybe actually that's a good point. Like either Henry or anybody else who's thought about building stuff, what are the things that are missing that would make your lives easier? Like what are the things that, oh, cool, if this was there, it would be so much easier for me to do X, Y, and Z?
Well, I think what you guys are talking about there is super relevant to me. For me, it's okay because I've got a front-end development background as well as a game development background, but a lot of people working in games don't have a front-end background, which means that they don't have the front-end web stack and everything else. And currently the setup is where I have to compile the entire game, and then all the JavaScript has to be compiled, and it becomes a bit of a nightmare for anyone that hasn't got that front-end experience. So this whole Swagger thing, I'm not familiar with Swagger myself, but it sounds like it could be super useful for the sort of the thing that we're doing. If I can get people building a game and building it, and then it just works, that is like my ideal sort of use case. Any sort of additional steps that developers have to go through on the front end creates sort of some friction there. So it's what you guys have planned sounds super useful for me.
Yeah. So actually, Swagger, and maybe Pat can complete on this, but I think they even have a way to kind of export custom libraries, right? So you define the definition. I mean, you set up the definition of the API via some kind of manifest file, and then you can export kind of modules/libraries for pretty much any framework or any platform that you can think of, both on the web and I would assume kind of mobile thing. So you can create kind of an iOS or a Swift unlock library by taking the Swagger definition and then exporting it. Is that correct, Pat? Just to make sure.
There's a lot of tooling that I haven't used for Swagger, so that might be something I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, so that's on the roadmap. Cool. Okay. I guess we'll prioritize this now that it feels like it's something that people might use a lot more of. Is there anything else? Like, oh, go ahead, Pat.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, you definitely don't need that to like.
No.
Like, I didn't even use the SDK in the bot. I just, because I've been doing this so long that for me it's easier to just create a contract in Ethers and call the function. I mean, it's literally like one function. I just called get has valid key.
Yep.
Like that's it. Like it's not you don't need a ton of data. You don't need like the
Freeze
subgraph,
things. Yeah.
right? You guys need it because you're showing more of a wallet view of like tons and tons of stuff. But if for like a simple application where you're dealing with, one user and one lock, you don't need any fancy tooling at all, really, because you can, as long as you can read on what's on chain, then you have everything you need.
Yep. No, that's a very good point. Like, just to make it clear, none of the stuff that we're discussing are required, right? It's just like making things easier, simpler, especially when you start dealing with more complicated things. Like a game is probably something where you would want more complexity than just a binary thing. Like, oh, is there a valid membership for that user or not? That's when I would assume kind of having richer tools make things easier. So one thing that actually is, so as you probably all know, but we're introducing credit card payments for all memberships, basically. So, when I say all, each creator can say, hey, yes, I want to be paid in credit card on my lock, as well as crypto or credit card for users. Right now, we're building this inside of the paywall experience. And I was wondering if there was any sense to kind of make it an API as well, so something that could be integrated into some completely different framework in that world. So it wouldn't just be like right now it would be a web view, but it would be a completely different integration. Does that make sense?
So I think that makes a lot of sense for the sort of thing that I'm doing, because one thing we were discussing is having very custom views, because one thing that players expect when playing sort of web games is that everything is very styled to the game, and I think every game will style the UI differently. Yep. And I think it would be a lot easier to set up using the web view for credit card payments and everything. If there's any way that we can sort of customize that, I think that would be super useful for us. But I would say that it wouldn't be a priority. Mm-hmm. As well, one thing I was going to ask is about if you're making regular credit card payments. Yeah. How do those details get stored?
Yeah, so we're using Stripe. We're using Stripe basically, and so we don't store the cards ourselves, obviously. And if we do an API, we would basically say, hey, you need to implement Stripe's capture, and then you just give us the token of the card that we would need to charge. So on that API, you would not pass us the credit card information. Obviously, you would just pass us the token that we use to then charge the card. And to be clear, the way we're actually thinking about doing it, and it's almost there, but so the locks themselves have a function or have a way to grant roles. And so you would need to grant a specific role to Unlock Inc., which is called key grantor. So you give us the role that allows us to give away keys for free to your lock. And the idea is like you would trust that we'd charge cards, obviously. So we would charge somebody's card, and then once we've charged the card, we would grant the NFT, the key, to the person who paid us with their card. And one of the benefit of this approach is like when we are key grantor, we're also key manager for the keys that we've granted. And key manager is a different role. It's basically the role that you need to have to either transfer or cancel a membership. And the reason why we need these is because if there's a chargeback on the card, we want to be able to cancel the key or prevent the person who has the membership from transferring it to somebody else. So to be clear, if somebody purchases a membership via credit card, they're not going to get the same flexibility that somebody else. They're going to get an NFT. It's going to show up in their wallet. It's going to be like any other NFT there, except that they can't transfer it or they can't cancel it without asking us first, because we're the one in charge, again, because we got the payment through the credit card. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
And so in that scenario, when thinking about the API, and we're actually going to have to build the API to support this on our front end, but the one thing that the API is going to get is the Stripe token for representing that payment object, so the card in that specific scenario. One of the challenges that we'll have and that we'll have to think about, specifically for third-party integration. All right, I think you're out. One of the challenges that we have in that scenario is that the way we know that somebody owns a card is by asking them to sign the token, the Stripe token, with their private key, so with their crypto wallet. So what you see how that works in kind of non-web context, because I don't know how you can actually sign a message inside of a game with your crypto wallet, because that means that you would have to store your private key in the game. But I mean, hopefully at some point that's, it's not even an unlock thing, right? Like you will have crypto primitives, I would assume, at some point in games. And if that's the case, then everything works out of the box.
Cool, that makes sense.
Cool.
And is the advantage of doing it that way that, the game developer isn't having to set up their own Stripe account?
So what I described, you wouldn't have to. The reason why you might still want to is like if you so I'm not sure everyone is familiar with Stripe as a payment processor, but that's a payment processor that uses, that is pretty popular. Not any, but like most website that you would use in the US at this point use credit card for this. The reason why you would want to set your own processor is because you can actually have two different API keys. The API key for the application that actually performs the payment or charges the card, and that would be ours. And then the API key of the person getting the funds. And in that case, that would be you, the lock owner, right? So when you create your membership and you enable credit card, you say, hey, all right, Unlock, please charge the cards. If you do provide us with an API key, you will also get the money directly. Otherwise, you would have to find a mechanism, and that's coming for later, where we would transfer you the proceeds of the credit card payments after a month or something like this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like the benefit there is that you're not having to run the developer isn't having to run the infrastructure to mint the NFT and send it to the wallet.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that's definitely worth it. Like,
yeah,
that's the hard part.
That's the pain. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you just provide your API key, we'll charge the card, we'll mint the NFT, and then you get the money out of this.
That's interesting. I didn't know you could like separate your Stripe account like that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so
I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Like if you use something, so Substack, which is kind of this newsletter thing, that's how they work. Basically, you go apply for a Stripe account first. You have your Substack account, then you go apply for a Stripe account. You get your Stripe API key, you give it to Substack. It's actually happening without you knowing that's happening, but it's happening this way. And then Substack will just, when they charge cards, will just send you the payment to your API key. So you get the money in Stripe directly.
They take a fee though.
And they take a fee, yeah. So to be clear, when there's credit card, we will probably take a fee as well, because Stripe takes a fee and we have to cover that as well. Makes sense?
Swiss DCL was asking if there'll be a Polygon-Matic integration.
Yes, we will ship to Matic at some point. It's in the next few weeks, probably. Maybe one thing that to be clear as well, like the API is completely network agnostic, right? You should be able to use Unlock's ABIs first to the smart contract, and then any API on top of this, completely transparently, whether this is on mainnet, XDAI, a test network like Winkeby, or Polygon, or maybe even Arbitrum or Optimism, which are kind of these layer 2 things. We really want to make it so that developers, creators, or even consumers don't have to care very much about which network they're on. It's still some work right now, but eventually that's going to be the case.
Yeah, the key term there is EVM compatible.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's EVM compatible,
should work.
Which is the Ethereum virtual machine. If you see that, then chances are it's a go.
Yep. That's the goal. Nice. Again, anything else that we could build, or that is missing? Oh, Swiss, I think. Go ahead. You've raised your hand.
Maybe I can give it a try. Sorry about the issue before. So I'm kind of here from the game called Decentraland. I think maybe you guys have heard about it.
Yes.
And And one thing that we have going on right now is that the community is beginning to build a lot of stuff. So the question of allowing monetization options is becoming really relevant right now for a lot of people. And since it's so decentralized, a lot of people are probably going to launch WordPress websites or all kinds of external applications. And this tool that you guys have seems to be like a very interesting solution. But the issue that we have is that we have very few technical people. We have people who can figure stuff out, but not necessarily people who can who are familiar with development at your level. So when I've seen that you guys have integrations with WordPress and other kind of prefabricated tools, I was really excited. But now with the level 2 coming on board everywhere, a lot of these tools are not as relevant anymore, because with $250 transaction fees, everything becomes irrelevant, right? So I was wondering, I was wondering, what, like, if you guys potentially could take one more step towards the non-technical user, so that we can kind of hack together solutions with without development. Right?
So I mean, I'm not fully sure I understand what you're asking, but Decentraland, for those who are not familiar, this is kind of an online virtual world. Maybe, I don't know if somebody thinks this is a bad description.
I mean, just to clarify, to provide more value here, if I want to generate files like graphics, 3D files in .glb format for people to use inside that virtual world, be it for a building or for any kind of item, I need to make this item downloadable somewhere if I want to monetize this type of work.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Okay.
And of course, it will be ideal to issue an NFT, have it available in OpenSea for sale for people to purchase these assets in that way, because we don't have another option right now to really protect the asset inside the world, right? So we have to use a downloadable file for the time being.
Interesting. I was actually wondering if just, and you mind muting because I think there's echo, unless it's just me. No, I think, okay, cool. Thank you very much. So, and I'm not very familiar with Decentraland, to be clear, but I was hoping or expecting that there's actually a way for these assets inside of Decentraland to be permissioned in that way. But if you tell me it's just a matter of downloading a file, I guess, yeah, any unlock integration where, and somebody should build this, kind of, I was thinking about the lock box. It's like, think Dropbox, but with a lock, where basically I put the files there and you cannot download the file unless you have the NFT in your wallet. If you have the NFT in your wallet, yes, you can download the file. The challenge with these approach, obviously, is always that the first person who downloads the file can re-upload it somewhere else and make it available for everybody else. So there's always kind of a piracy challenge here, but maybe that's a proof of concept that we can work on first, and then we do something else.
I think this is a wonderful idea, and I think you can work around that issue of copyright issues. I mean, the whole idea with the NFT is that you have that creative component, that it could be a piece of art with that download, and you first and foremost, you build the value around the art piece, and the download is an updatable file. You might have an old copy somewhere, and yes, you can share it, but you don't have the actual NFT, and you don't have the most updated version of it. So I think you can work around that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and ideally, even Decentraland as a platform is the place where, say, let's say I own a room in Decentraland and I want to put a painting on my wall. I would hope that the wall or the Decentraland has the APIs to only show the painting on my wall if I have the NFT of that painting. And I mean, if that exists, then it's definitely something that we should look at. If that doesn't, then maybe there's other ways that we can do something like this.
I'm really glad I had the opportunity to bring this to your attention. Hopefully there will be some kind of hidden downloadable module or a box like that. This will be really awesome. Thank you guys for
you should definitely post that idea onto the Telegram and then the Discord channels. I'm sure there's people who can build this, or we can help you build this. And we would love to, I mean, when I say we, Unlock Inc. would love to be able to help in any way we can here, including grants, right? Like that's just, I think everybody knows this, but we have a grants program with bounties for people who are interested in building cool stuff. And then that's, I mean, again, Decentraland is definitely one of the spaces where I think there's a lot of things to do, right? Somebody mentioned earlier virtual games, virtual concerts. And in Decentraland, there's already a bunch of things, but I'd love to be able to say, hey, this is my place, and you can only come into my place if you have my membership. Maybe I charge for this, but maybe it's also a free thing. You just get the membership. And if that's the case, at some point we should definitely create an unlock space inside of Decentraland when people can show up, and only if they have the membership to the Discord and to our blog.
There's something that I'm exploring at the moment as well. So I'm trying to build sort of an official demo for the integration that I'm doing, and part of that is sort of this RPG where these different houses, these different guild houses in the game environment. So there might be like the Thieves Guild, for example, and there might be this Archers Guild, and they've all got their own clubhouses. But in order to get in, you need to buy a membership. And then inside there, you can get sort of different missions that are given to you. But what you can also do is you might be like, oh, I don't want to be a thief anymore. I want to be a mage. So you can trade your membership with someone that's a different guild member. But it's interesting. If we can replicate the same thing in Decentraland, that would be a really interesting way to sort of rapidly prototype it.
Yeah, and what I like about this is like you can even have like these two different worlds in which the same membership give you access to different things. Like you can have the Thieves Guild inside of your game, Henry, and then the same guild would have access to some separate kind of space inside of Decentraland, kind of reusing the membership across different things. I think is a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking something similar as well. Like you talked about on the Discord channel, there being a hodlers channel or something like that. It'd be quite cool to be able to have like a separate room in the game where those members could go as well.
Yeah, definitely. That would be kind of the idea. And I mean, generally, I'm one thing that I love to think about is like what happens when these membership are reused across different platforms, right? And so what I'm thinking here is like almost you could have a thing where say on my blog, I would have my membership, or maybe not even have a membership, but like the blog would look different whether you're a thief or a mage inside of your game.
Oh yeah, that's a very good idea.
And so it's almost like the fact that I'm a member, that I have this thing in my wallet across the web now. I'm recognized as a thief. I mean, that's a weird thing to say, but I'm recognized as a mage across the web everywhere. And so I can see stuff that is relevant to the fact that I have this specific membership, which I think is a pretty cool idea here. Does that make sense, Swiss DCL?
Most definitely. I'm already making a couple of notes on how to describe the stuff for Discord. So we have it in there and hopefully something will work out. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, and I know some people in here have been reaching out, maybe not right now on the Hangout, but like in the channel say, hey, I'd love to build things. I don't have ideas. I mean, this is the right place. Like if you don't have ideas, want to build things, reach out to us. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who have ideas and don't necessarily have the skills.
I've got a couple plots of land that I can lend to this experiment.
Very cool.
Awesome.
I'm not doing with it anything right now, so happy to lend it.
What's really interesting about this, and go ahead, Swiss, I was going to say something, but can come later. Oh, you might be very far from the phone.
Sorry, guys. I think my connection is losing. I'm losing the connection here. My apologies.
No worries. So I was going to say, what's interesting about lending space is like it's almost it could be a membership to kind of a rent membership in some way, right? So you would basically share the proceeds. Say you put a lock on your space and say, hey, all right, 5% or whatever of the amount of money that membership yields goes to me as the landowner in Decentraland. Like you can rent your space to different members or different memberships who want to build stuff inside of your land.
That's incredible. Conceptually speaking, because seriously, because that opens up a whole new way of playing the game. No, because I'm not sure if that's even possible on the game right now. I'm not that familiar with it, but I understand the entire concept of it. But becoming a landlord and allowing people to rent it using Unlock, that's pretty cool to me. I don't know.
I mean, and maybe that's a good segue into some of the stuff. I mean, locks are very powerful. There's a lot of things. So even though Pat said, I'm just using that function like has valid key, and I think that's probably the most used one. There's a lot of things. Like I mentioned the roles earlier. So the idea of the key grantor and the key manager. One thing that I'm thinking a lot about is this thing called the beneficiary, which is the address that receives the funds when the withdraw function is called. So basically, when somebody purchases a membership, they pay the smart contract, right? So they send tokens to the smart contract. The smart contract now owns these tokens. And there's a function called withdraw, which is a way to take either all or some of the funds on the smart contract and send them to a beneficiary. One thing that we're thinking about building or improving is rather than have a single beneficiary, have a way to kind of reuse the permission aspect of ERC20. So ERC20 is this spec for tokens where you can approve an address to withdraw a share of the funds or all of your funds for some purpose. What we're thinking here, it would be really nice if a lock could say, hey, I'm going to approve the landowner to withdraw, 1,000 DAI, or I'm only going to approve that address to withdraw the designer, I mean, Sasha is designing this thing. I'm going to approve Sasha to withdraw some amount of money when there's enough on the lock, obviously, when that does this. So you can have a way to have the lock itself kind of pay multiple contributors in that space. So like the designer will build kind of an integration or some of these things. And I think there's definitely a lot of powerful thing that could emerge from that.
Are there any like unreversible approvals? Because that would be something that could really allow people to do crazy stuff. Like, I give you permission to transfer my lock, and if I misbehave or don't pay my bill or whatever, then you get to transfer it out of my wallet, right? And if that's built in itself, then you could do the renting thing. Basically, they could still have it in their possession, but the person you're supposed to be paying has the ability to take it out.
That's a good question. Right now, so we have another role, which is the lock manager, which is basically it's multiple people, right? So they're the co-owners of the lock, and a lock manager can only revoke themselves. So I cannot, if I grant you lock manager, Pat, on my thing, I cannot kick you out of this after this. So you can only revoke yourself. But you can imagine a situation where both lock managers are fighting for the beneficiary. So right now we actually, we say, oh, I'll change the beneficiary, and then you change the beneficiary, and then I change. So it's kind of a deadlock. We keep changing the thing, but we can be in a situation at least where we both can change it, and none of us can prevent the other one from changing, which kind of forces us to agree on thing. It's not ideal, but one idea that I'm thinking here, also, nothing says that the lock manager has to be an address. A user address. It can be another contract. Right. So you can have a situation where this time the lock manager is a DAO, and then there is some set of rules that a multisig, for example, or something like this, where everybody has to agree when you change something. So let's say the beneficiary this time is a Gnosis multisig wallet, and then not the beneficiary, the lock manager is a Gnosis multisig wallet, and then there's multiple signers, and these signers have to agree to change the beneficiary. So I mean, all of these things are definitely possible for sure.
Yeah, I think now I kind of want to make a little prototype of that.
Get the gears turning, right?
That's why we're here.
Another thing that is cool, I think, so we have this lock manager, I mean, these roles that I mentioned. So lock manager kind of creates the lock, the first one, and then anybody else who can, any user who would then be able to call different things. We have the key manager who basically manages the keys on behalf of people, so can transfer, cancel. One thing that we have, which I'd love to see people kind of leverage more, is the idea of the hooks. So we have a hook system on the smart contract so that whenever a purchase happens, another contract can be called to execute something. And so one of the initial use cases for this, which I mean we've built actually at some point, but would love to release again on Xtide because it was just not practical on. Oh, sorry, my phone is ringing, which is interesting. I didn't expect this. I was like, where somebody's trying to show up on the Discord on the Meetup again. Anyway, so one thing we have is the hooks, and it's the idea that every time somebody purchases a membership, another smart contract can be called to do something else, and that something else that we've built is change the price. So you can have a bonding curve, right? So you say, hey, every time somebody purchases something, it gets more and more expensive, or less and less expensive, depending on how you want to do this. Or if there's enough people, then you change a threshold. But one thing that I think could be really interesting is the idea of, and the hook can also alter the existing purchasing experience. So let's say I'm purchasing something, I'm paying 10. The hook actually happens before I pay 10 in a way that it could actually lower my price. So say, oh, you only pay 5. And so what I'm thinking here is a situation where I might want to unlock the mage membership in your game, Henry. And the fact that I'm already a Seath mean that now my price goes up. So I wouldn't first need to get rid of the membership before I can actually purchase. Otherwise, it's going to be more expensive, right? So it's kind of a way to make sure that, to add gamification inside of the membership themselves, which I think could be pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It becomes a game design tool and that you can utilize in the game itself. That's cool.
Yep, exactly. And so it's like, oh, you're a thief. You cannot. It would be kind of a what's the name? A wolf in the sheep thing. It's like, nope. You're a thief. If you're a thief, you cannot be a mage. And so that means that you can actually not go in two different spaces at the same time, which I think is an interesting one as well.
Yeah. Well, that could translate as sort of a reputation mechanic. So if you become a thief, you have sort of a negative reputation that blocks you access from certain places.
Yep, exactly. Or some other membership, right? Which is kind of a secondary thing, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right, we have a couple more minutes. I want to make sure that everybody is, we're respecting everybody's time. Might be getting late for some people as well. Is there any kind of big topic that somebody wants to raise, or?
I wanted to ask about the hackathon. I saw it on the roadmap. I wonder if anything is going to be announced regarding that, or what the plan is for that.
So our goal is to get one before summer, and Sasha might have more opinion than I do on that. But our goal is to get at least one before summer, and then we're thinking almost like once a month. Ideally, our goal would be to kind of do kind of a combination of Unlock hosted hackathons, and then us participating into other hackathons. So in the Ethereum world, there's a bunch of hackathons happening. And so we would participate. Sometimes it would be just a Unlock one. Sometimes it's a participation into another one. Our goal would definitely be to put kind of bounties and grants and rewards in the form of UDT and maybe some other things like swag that we have. Yeah, we're, again, just getting started here. So any help would be greatly appreciated. I think we would definitely want to do one around games. I think that's a big one. But now that I know there's discussion around doing one around hardware stuff, because there's all of these hardware kind of locks that could be used with Unlock. Another one that I'm thinking is like virtual worlds, like after we just discussed, like obviously a Decentraland, and there's a couple other virtual worlds that we could maybe try to see if there's stuff to build.
That's another thing I was looking into that I didn't mention is VR or web VR integration.
Yeah.
At the moment, there's a little bit of friction between having to sort of switch between VR and then flat screen in order to do all the transactions. So, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and so there is friction, but I think you can actually show web content inside of VR spaces, right?
Yeah, you can. I'm not sure how that would work with web VR and connecting with your wallet, but I've seen some examples. People have done it in the Unity game engine already.
Yeah.
And it does. You can't really see your wallet in VR at the moment. There's not a way to do that.
Could you do Wallet Connect? Could you leverage Wallet Connect here? I don't know how you would scan the QR code.
You could have a virtual desktop in VR though, where you could literally just operate your computer screen on it.
Yeah, you can. You could probably. I don't know if that works with browser extensions and stuff. I'd have to look into it some more. But I think the difficulty there is that the friction between
removing the goggles.
Yeah, exactly.
Because literally, it opens up like a screen and it's mirroring exactly what your desktop is doing at the moment.
Oh, okay.
So
it sounds doable with that then.
Nothing like that. No, so it's your headset is on and you're operating the entire computer with a giant screen in front of you, basically. And whatever your computer is doing is just mirroring that. So you don't have to take your headset on and off. So essentially, you could open up your Brave browser, for example, and just connect your wallet through there, and it'll be just fine.
Yeah, with Wallet Connect, I guess that would actually be pretty smooth.
Yeah, because it's just literally just mirroring your screen, whatever your desktop is doing at that time, just in VR.
Cool. No, that looks good. All right. Any other closing thoughts, feedback, comments? Maybe on the format. Like, maybe you don't have to do it right now, but like, feel free to send us this on Discord or on Telegram over the next couple of days. Like, hey, this was interesting, or this sucked. It was the worst thing in my week. Or yeah, just send us anything that you have. We'd love to learn and make these better, obviously, as we go.
Or if you have ideas for topics or people that you want to chat to or about, let us know. We're.
If I could ask a quick question regarding basically expiry on locks, like, is there a way for me to make a one-time use lock?
No. Actually, let me clarify this. Right now, when you create a membership, you set up a time. But as a lock owner, or actually a lock manager, that's the role, you can expire keys. So the way you would do kind of a one usage thing would be, say, create a year-long thing, and then the minute or the day the person uses that membership to, say, access a file or something, you would go expire it in the on the smart contract. So it would require an extra transaction, but that is possible in that sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I'd have to dig through maybe a little bit better. Maybe I could use a hook and issue a different type of token or something too.
Actually, the hook is a great way. It's a weird thing though. It's a weird thing. Now, the hook wouldn't probably work because you probably don't purchase at the same time that you access the stuff that you. So, for example, let's say you want to do a one-off download this file thing, right? So people would need to first purchase the membership and then download the file. And if you expire at the time of the purchase, then they can't download the file. So what you would want to have is like purchase, and then inside of your backend or whatever that is where the person executes downloads the file, that's when you would go and say, hey, all right, they downloaded the file, now I'm going to expire the token. Does that make a bit of sense?
It makes sense. I'm just wondering, is there API for that, or would that have to be a manual? I mean, there's got to be a way, right?
Yeah, no, there's a function call in the smart contract to do that. It's not in unlock.js, but it's actually a good thing that maybe we could add to unlock.js as a capability.
Okay.
And the reason why, one of the cool thing about this is like you can imagine a scenario where I purchased something kind of a month before or a year before I actually download the file or watch the movie, or and that is things that become possible, right? So you can imagine like, oh, I'm an artist, I'm doing this movie, and I want to kind of pre-sell the movie by selling memberships ahead of time. I don't know exactly when the movie is going to go live, so I make a membership for like 10 years. So I have 10 years now to make the movie, but then when I make the movie, let's say once somebody has viewed all of the movie, now that's when I expire their membership. Say, hey, nope, now you're done, and I'm going to terminate your membership, which means that you can't watch it again in that scenario or download the file, or kind of one-off thing like a concert. You could do that as well.
No, that makes a lot of sense. The other question I had was the difference between the paywall and the wallet service and unlock.js.
Yeah, so unlock.js has these two different abstractions, which is kind of on one side wallet service and then Web3 service. Think of Web3 service as kind of the static thing, like I'm reading content, and wallet as like the writing thing, like I'm purchasing a membership or these things. Eventually, I hope to be able to kind of build a simpler, easier API where it's just one thing that you connect to your wallet. So it's unlock service in that sense that you connect, and then you can do the write transaction, not just the read transaction. And then the paywall is a higher level abstraction that you can easily put on a website, basically. So it's the goal of the paywall is really so that you don't have to write code. It's more like, oh, I can put this into my website without really thinking too much about logic around memberships themselves. But it makes me think that I need to write about this because it's not very clear.
Okay.
So I'm definitely gonna do that.
Thank you.
Quick question regarding some of the grants. Are those the ones listed on the wiki, kind of like what you're targeting now, or are grants kind of given case-by-case business basis? How does that work?
Yeah, answer is both and more. So let me tell you, we do have a bunch of things that we want people to build, and so we're kind of opening grants on this, like, hey, come tell us if you want to build this. And then it's also kind of a case by case, like if you think you have a cool idea of something that you want to build, come to us, and then we'll explore that, whether this is grant worthy or not. Right now, I don't say the bar is low, but like anything, the goal is to create adoption, right? So anything that you can tell us or show us will actually create adoption. We'll definitely do a grant. One thing that is not announced publicly yet, but so don't tell anyone, but our goal is to move forward with a DAO faster than we thought initially, and definitely do kind of grants to the DAO as well. So basically the whole community of token holders would be able to vote on some specific grants that could happen in the ecosystem. Make sense?
Yeah, I do have some iOS experience and really enjoy working in Swift.
Yeah.
So what was talked about earlier kind of interests me, and I might want to try to take a stab at it.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to carry either way, really, but it'd be kind of cool.
No, for sure. Agreed. Like for me, one of the big things that iOS can, that being on iOS can bring is like better in-app purchases that are not kind of tied to Apple's ecosystem. I have a Mac. I'm a big Apple fan. But honestly, that 30% tax on everything that people buy online, it's kind of a pain. And so I'd love to imagine a world where some apps allow people to unlock stuff, and that completely bypasses the. I mean, you have the NFT in your wallet, boom, you get access to this. That's not about Apple ecosystem. Makes sense?
Very much so.
Cool.
I just posted the link to the grant application in the chat in case anyone is interested. I'm also wondering, was everyone able to join the Discord and unlock? Did that work? Did people have problems?
I was able to join. I
that?
haven't tried the unlock feature yet.
Okay, cool. If you do run into any snags, just let us know.
Yeah, let us know, because I'm launching a UI for it. I built a Discord bot, and then it was way too complicated. So I'm building a UI, and the UI is going to come out, but that's throwing some bugs in there right now.
I mean, let's break it. Like, that's how we can make it better.
Out of curiosity, did you guys find out how I was able to get access without holding DAI?
There's a bug.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I think it's I mean, Sasha configured it with 2 different locks, which might actually be the reason why it's buggy right now. We pushed it beyond its limit, I guess.
I think I broke it. Sorry.
That's
Cool.
the best
All right.
part. We get to fix things.
Exactly that you need to break to fix them. That's the way. Cool. I again want to be conscious of everyone's time. Thank you very much, Pat and Henry. I really appreciate you being here, and really excited that you're part of the community. We're gonna have another one in 2 weeks, and then another one 2 weeks after. Hope to see everyone there. Again, send feedback publicly, privately. hello@unlock-protocol.com. You can even use an anonymous email address if you want to trash us. I should say this. You can also send compliments. I'm sure you will send compliments. It feels good. All right. Have a good day, morning, afternoon, night, and we'll see you all online very soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Ciao, guys.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.